Happy Tuesday. IChrom welcome you all to join this webcast. And hello guys, this is Anupriya representing IChrom. Hope you all are safe. This webcast based on transfer technology, which is represented by our guest Mr. Adnan Sabir, principal consultant from California, US. Sir have a vital knowledge of pharmaceutical, QBD, and other related technical knowledge and have experience of more than 30 years. Uh, There will be question and answer session also. If anyone have any query, they can write us through their chat box after the session. Now welcome Mr. Sabir.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are attending from. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hello, good morning again. Welcome to this webinar, which is about technology transfer. What are the critical aspects of this particular process and how can you make it successful? So I'm Adnan Sabir, and just a small correction, I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. Not California. I just moved from there, but I also appreciate Anu for a nice introduction about me. So here I am. If you can see here, uh, I am currently doing the consultation mostly in formulation and process development, and they are based on QBD and PAT. Also, this whatever the consultation I am providing includes the quality assurance, total quality management systems, and some support to CMC also. This all which is my knowledge-based consultation comes from my working for plus 30 years in the different pharmaceutical industries, which are listed on the right side. I'm not going to go into the names there. You can read them. And my qualifications are from the two master's degrees, one from Nagpur University in pharmaceutical technology, and another from the Long Island University in New York in industrial pharmacy. I'm also very active in some of the forums like AAPS, ISPE, CRS, etc., where not only I participate in their activities, but also often I'm called for presenting on my subject matter expertise. If you ever wanted to contact me, here are my contact information, which is given on the left side, and you can also connect me on the LinkedIn. Let's talk about the subject now. So what I'm going to talk today is technology transfer. And what is it? Actually, you all know, but still I'm going to put some new light on this particular process. How does that fit into our overall product? Because it is one of the very critical and integral part of the process development. So how do we handle this? Is there anything changed from the traditional process? And of course, there is, especially when you talk about the QBD and PAT introduction since year 2002. And with the emergence of lots of virtual companies and merging of the companies, this has a lot to do with how we will handle the new technology transfer process. And as a team member of the technology transfer team or as a team leader of the technology transfer team, what are your responsibilities, what you are accountable for? So these are three or four things which I'm going to talk about this process. As I said earlier, it is a key elements of the whole fabric of product development. Though it stays in between, like between R&D and the manufacturing, it has lots of its importance because it impacts both sides of the field. So if it is properly done, it is effectively done, it impacts its development, registration, and ultimately launch of the product. It involves the basically whole site on the on your company profile, because it impact, as I said, it starts right from the invention and then ends into the launch. So all those departments and all those activities which are being done in the developing of this product are getting impacted. That's why it's very important. Uh, there are minimum 2 points required in any technology transfer process. One is a donor who has the knowledge, who has invented the product, who has made the product to the stage, to the gram or kilogram level. And then the second part is the recipient, who who could be anything, who could be within the same company you are manufacturing division, or it could be the CDMO, or it could be wherever you are transferring the process. Now, this is not only the manufacturing process, it could be the analytical process, it could be something else. But between the 2 points, whenever any scientific process or technology is being transferred, these things which I'm going to talk today will be applicable to that for the success of that process. And when we say that it is a, just to give an example of a manufacturing process, that I am going to transfer this manufacturing process to the other side, which I always refer as a sender and the receiver. So from when the sender thinks about transferring any technologies, basically it is the whole knowledge he is transferring. It is not only the A, B, C, D and the batch record of that particular process, but the whole knowledge which he has gained is being transferred to the point B. And that knowledge, most of the time, traditional way, if you look at your development report, which basically is your first technology transfer report, if you look at. So from the invention or the development to the manufacturing, the report is called the development report, and it mostly traditionally includes all the successful points, and they do not mention any failures. And I'm one change from the traditional process I will suggest is focus on the failures, because that lead to many of those solutions which are described in overcoming those failures, which manufacturing needs to know that, because that is more important than all the success. Success is anyway will go through that, but for what you learn from the failures is more important, and that needs to be passed on, and that needs to be transferred. And that's why I say that it's not only the methods, but it's the knowledge, and the whole knowledge needs to be transferred. So this is basically a diagram of that, what I'm saying. Source A to is source A is a sender, source B is a receiver. Excuse me. And in between the two is the collaboration between these two. And whatever you start in by the source A, they need to keep the end in mind. So begin with the end in mind, as the very famous guy Stephen Covey said. So in today's environment, what does technology transfer process means? It is very much different, because in last 2 decades, you have seen that every newspaper headline is full of that mergers and acquisitions. On the top, from 2002, there is the whole scientific literature is inundated with the QBD and PAT, the concepts and its applications. With that comes the time constraint, because the QBD and PAT require some extra work during the process development part. And that time constraints come, which really impacts the generic companies who are always striving to be first to file in order to get the exclusivity of 180 days. And also the emerging of those virtual companies is now so much that even they are countless now. That also requires, because of the emerging of virtual companies, most of the process are being transferred to CMOs, CROs, and CDMOs. So with all these factors coming into the play in last 2 decades, I think the technology transfer requires some new dimensions. And with that comes a lot of challenges in that. For example, here are the few to list as the logistics, that means planning. And there is, you do have plan for technology transfer, but there is no plan until there is planning. So that's where the logistics plays a part. Second is like communication. Oh my God, this is one of the most critical part of this particular process, because you are talking not only within the group to whom you know the culture and you know the system and you know the equipment, but you are talking to the second person who is a receiver. Sometimes you don't know anything about that. How do they? And now with this global development, that communication becomes more challenging now. Then comes the acquisition of real-time data. So because of the global partners involved and because of the different cultures we have to deal with and their expectations, though it is written everything on the paper, but it is when it comes, when you try to pursue it, it is different. So, and FDA is really now after real-time data. PAT is one of the reasons why it was thrown here. And then comes the quality culture. As again I said, with the not knowing the other side of the wall where you are trying to transfer the process, what's the culture exists and what's your quality culture. So do they match? If not, then that's a challenge here, and how to resolve that. So with those challenges, knowing them, what are they? There are only few which major I listed. There are many more, and those who are in the industry may be able to include some more onto the list when you go back to your desk. But then these are the 10 principles of technology transfer, which I'm going to present today, which is basically part of first part, which is logistics, is planning. And these principles you are not going to, there are no reference for that, because these are the something which I have developed myself by working in so many different companies. And then I applied it into my process in many times, and so I was very successful in those. So in this particular, for the time constraints and all that which we have here, I am going to list these 10 essential steps or key elements of the technology transfer process, which you can see here. I am not going to talk more details, but only line by line on each one of that in the following slides. There will be, I guess, another lecture coming up or any webinar that this organization is going to arrange, in which I may be having time to go more details about these things. But let's go through this, which is like defining the project through the measuring the success of technology transfer process, which is also called as metric. So in the following slides, I'm going to go through each one of them to give you some light on that, so that if you happen to go back in your workplaces again, you should be able to exercise some of these, and at least those which are missing from this. So define the project scope. What does that mean? When the sender site develops the project, develop the product, it has lots of knowledge which they receive from the management or from the marketing, and that is basically called as project scope, or the what this product is. Is a solid tablet? It is a capsule? Is it liquid? It is suspension? It's ointment? It's cream? It's a modified release? It is injectable? It is nanoparticle? I don't know. So all those things which is from the product profile needs to be put together, and that needs to be transferred. And that will include the product information as well as your proposed registration timelines, as well as any special requirements. If, for example, if it is a temperature sensitive product, it is a moisture sensitive product, how are you going to handle that? So in your development report, you will be having all that information and in addition, the project scope will include what is the selected manufacturing site, what are the safety informations about the API. You may have several changes down the line, but at least at this time when the product is having some success in the R&D, what is its source, and is there possible to have a backup source, which is highly recommended? What will be forecast volume? Are you talking about a 1 million, or are you talking about the billion tablets? So that is important. If you can have approximate forecast, I know it's too early. By the time it gets approved for generic, it is maybe 2 to 3 years. For brand, it will be 10 years. So this forecast volume will change. But again, give some idea here, and of course, cost of goods, so that ROI can be determined. The next, after the product profile, the next important point is team leader. And the team leader, which is selected by the line management or by the senior management, whoever it is, one thing is very important, that this team leader is subject matter expert. For technology transfer process, it is highly needed that subject matter expert should be a team leader, because and I'm talking about this team leader at both the sides, sender side as well as receiver side. They both need to have their own technology transfer team. There could be a common people sometime, but then it is required. And one thing I will again emphasize here, that this team leader should, if he doesn't have the management type of how to manage a team, if he doesn't have a capability, if he is not very savvy with the keeping the project management part, timelines and deadlines and all those things, I highly suggest add him, give him one support by the project manager. Now, that is good, that helps. Remember that for all scientific decisions, critical decisions, uh, team leader, who is technical team leader, has the right to change them, not the project manager. Project manager is only supporting the logistic parts of the timeline, etc. So these, their roles and responsibilities must be very clearly defined, because I have seen that because of that conflict, sometimes there are some not good situations coming up. So team leader, and the team leader has authority, or has one of the responsibility of forming the cross-functional team. And these teams are generally two types: core teams, and also there is a support team. Core team will remain with the project throughout the project, all the way from inception to launch. And the support team groups, as I mentioned, some of the probable functional departments who needs to be involved, the support team will be in and out of the team when required. So that way, it's very clear that there is one whole cross-functional team divided into two parts. The major responsibilities for the team leader will be basically following the project on the time, update the management, all the critical places. He gets the information from the management for the resources, etc., and continues the project and tries to deliver the project on time. It is him who is responsible for the expected success and failure of the product by updating the line management, and also the regulatory part. Also, he has to be, so that there are no changes which are huge and which is having any critical decisions later in the development side. Site of transfer. This is very important, that where you are transferring, the receiver side is selected by the management, and then the person, team leader from both the team, sender and receiver team, they gather the information about each other. What kind of site it is, how many resources are available there, what kind of equipment is there. The team leader, who is, as I said, is a subject matter expert, so he knows that my R&D part, where I have developed the product, involve these processes, whether these processes are having sufficient resources in terms of machinery and skill sets in the receiving side. So it is very, very important that the both team leaders visit each other's side. This is one of the most critical step, and sometimes that's not being done because of so much of this global kind of a business in pharmaceuticals. But I highly recommend that this one trip is worth to do so that you can get the very first hand information and there are no assumptions. Assumption is the one which is frustrating during the process and that delays the project. So, and also the manufacturing part should be part of the technology transfer team right from the beginning, not only that after the product is successful in R&D. I'm sure you are familiar with the picture because communication is the heartbeat of the success of this whole process. Oh my God, how many times I have gone through this in spite of the, in the last 5 years when the technology is so much advanced, you are connected everywhere by iPhone, by WhatsApp, by emails, by iPads, by you name it. Wherever there is internet, you are connected to your business. In spite of that, I have seen this kind of yelling on the phone, this kind of frustration on the phone. And this is only because there is no effective communication. So there are some of the things which I am highlighting here, like meeting agendas, meeting minutes, everything is on the folder, project folder, which is a shared area. With the right, in spite of all this, I think if it is not well handled, communication can cause lots of problems. Just remember one thing, that when you go to a barber shop and then if you don't give the proper instructions, uh, you will, that is a communication to the barber. You know what kind of haircut you are going to get. And then if it is messed up, you have to wait and redo, and then you will lose time, resources, and money. That is a simple example I can give you about the communication. It's a universal problem, but it's very common problem. What I'm saying here, that I know you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. And you know, just for example, if you are using a cornstarch in your formulation, one of the excipients, and a receiver side asks the questions on the phone, okay, what kind of moisture content you have? Immediately the guy said, oh, it was 8 point something. But what he did is he is looking at the C of A from the supplier and telling you that is 8 point. He did not, and what the receiver wanted to know, that did you measure in the lab? Did you do the moisture analyzer for that particular ingredient? And then you tell him that what is the value, because that's the real value, that is the real data. So this kind of things, I think this goes on. I can have so many examples here, but with the constraint of time, I'm just limiting to this, and I'm sure you all can take this example, go back to your desk, and apply it properly. But it goes without fail that amongst all the 10 principles I am saying, this is one of the most critical. So please pay attention to this. Roles and responsibilities. And again, it is the team leader, his responsibility to provide a written roles and responsibilities to all the team members and get the agreement from their line management as well as their members, so that in future there is never this question, oh, this is not me, this is him, or this is them. So this is going to have a very, I think there are sometimes lots of conflicts created because of that. So written communication on the roles and responsibilities is essential. Again, since the lots of hiccups coming onto the project during this travel from R&D to manufacturing, or wherever you are transferring the product, all the critical junctures, I think we need the support from the management. Either you need money, you need resources, or there are some major decisions which may impact your regulatory filing. These all team interactions must be maximized. And in order to do that, it is also prudent that both the team leaders are familiar with their hierarchy of the chart in their organization, so that when these kind of things happen, they know where to operate, approach for the resolution. Uh, this is something which I have seen, that since the person is working on the project, he is out of site for the line management, that how is it performing. So I highly recommend to have the 360-degree feedback, because that feedback provided by team leader or by the team members does help line management to know that how he's performing on the team. And his performance, every team member on the technology transfer team has a very, very vital and critical role to the success of the process. So I think this method, rather than line management evaluating the person, I think it is best that the team leader or the members of the team provide the 360-degree feedback, and that helps the project and that helps the individual and it keeps him motivated. Business acceptance is something, again, I will highly recommend. What it basically is talking about, a written agreement between the two sides before the transfer of any project or analytical methods or formulation or the process. A written agreement should be done with the receiving side that I am going to deliver this, and the receiver should say yes, 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 yes. And if there is any no, then let's sit together, find out why, and resolve those no's. And this is, if you look at in today's environment now, FDA has come up with the TQA with the CDMOs or CMOs, which is a technical quality agreement. And again, one of my webinar will be on technical quality agreement if you would like to attend, in which I have gone through the whole 9 yards about how a good technical agreement should be. So this business acceptance criteria, which I call at BAC, is very similar to that, except that it is on a very small level. It is between these two team leaders, and also it is a living document, because the agreement which was written at the at the end of the R&D process may change as we gain more experience with the product. This may change, and this happens. So it is a living document, and it will evolve in the early stages of the transfer. And this really assures two things: that a robust process is being transferred, and second thing is the our customer, which is a receiving side, is happy what they receive, and they will be only happy if it works in their floor. And if they are happy, that means product will be made in the manufacturing. As I said earlier, that in another company there was like 67 products, they did not see the sunlight because of this BSE was missing there. The one of the machine which they were talking in R&D in the compression room was totally not available or not capable in the manufacturing. So how can they make the product? And this was never discussed. So this document is a living document. Put all the expectations and the deliverables side by side in two columns, including the roles and responsibilities of each team. This number 9 is, from the technical point of view, it is one of the most important part, because this is a kind of Excel based data sheet in which you collect the data on the batch every day. When you sit in the evening before going home, the team leader or the subject matter expert or the one who has carried out the manufacturing or R&D or experimentation or clinical batches responsibility should sit, and last 1 hour of the day he should enter all the data of that particular day what he worked on. You know, it helps two ways. First, it is the real time data. Second thing, it is a fresh in his memory, so everything which goes in that becomes the very, very right and accurate data. And how does it help when you sit 2 years down the road or 1 year down the road to make your technical transfer report? You don't remember all what you did. Why did you bet the batch? Why the batch had the failure? What did you do with the failure? When these all things are recorded in this, and I do have a template for that, which records all the critical information. And not only that, that critical information, sometimes you can link it to the some. For example, If you have a hardness data, you can link it to the dissolution data or the disintegration data. So if any changes in the hardness will reflect into the dissolution data. And wherever the only thing is there are lots of information. So now it is the team leaders who they have to decide critical and what is the risk based, and all those that information which is required should be added here. This will help you when you write the technology transfer report. Instead, we used to take in the company like 2 years sometime to go through this technical report in the form that we can submit it to FDA. But with this concurrent database collection, we call CDBC, this is a now 3-day process. Just everything is there. Just put it in the form that it can be presented into a report. So again, there is one whole lecture I have on this concurrent database, which I should be able to deliver sometime in future. The last but not the least is the measured success through transfer metrics. Now you have gone through all this process right from the inception in the lab till the manufacturing and the successful manufacture. I mean the registration batches, validation batches, everything is successful. You have filed the product, and even the first 10 batches of production, which is there on the floor, the R&D person who has responsibility of developing the product should be on the floor with a QA guy when the first 10 manufacturing batches are done in the production. That is the part of the BSc, and that's the time when the BSc will be signed by the receiving person and handing over to R&D to tell him, no, now you can go and start your another project. I am done, I am successful, I am happy, and from here onwards I will deal with that. Once that particular process is done, then you come back to the number 10, which is the measure of successful transfer. In this, both the teams sit together, and first day you just do nothing but only the brainstorming, going through all the problems and issues and success and whatever you have gone through, just put that all together. Then the next time you sit together and sort out the key learnings from that particular huge information which you have put together. And this will serve two purposes. First of all, you will know that what went wrong and what was good, and that will give you some peace of mind as well as satisfaction. Uh, Plus, this will become a guide for the other teams which will be working on their project either now or in future. This is called as continuous enhancement of the technology transfer process. So once you collect this kind of metrics for the 5 or 10 different technology transfer team, you can imagine how much easy it will be for the teams to work through this process in future. They will not have so many problems, they will not have so many issues, and they should be able to deal with this easily. So now what I have presented here today is all logistics planning, and how this planning process you can put on paper. You can start on working, go through all the checklist, put together the document, and as I said, the first development report, our first any report which is required to be transferred to the receiving side must contain all these logistics which I have put it together here. Now, one thing more I will say, like when you transfer it to the CDMOs or CMOs to whom you don't know, this report could be more detailed because they don't know anything about you. So it has to be more technical information going through, so that they have less questions, and they can work efficiently on your product. Also, the this, as I said earlier, this technology transfer is not like transfer between the two departments only within the same company, but it can go to globally anywhere. It can be a just simple microbiology process which can be transferred to microbiology lab or contract lab. In fact, the sometimes it happens the receiving side doesn't have the capability of doing some of those processes. So they do have another 2 or 3 subcontractors, but ultimate responsibility comes to the team leader. The ultimate responsibility comes to the team leader of that group who is filing NDA or ANDA or any other application. The sponsor of that product bears all the responsibility of the CMOs as well as contract and subcontract. So that information also goes on to the BAC. Uh, Details on CDBC, as I said, which information should be captured and how does that sheet works. That is a subject of discussion for some another part. Optimization, it goes without fail that this is required for the robustness of the product. And what I'm going to talk here sometime is about how design space, QBD, QRM, quality risk management, all play a part in the optimization scale up part. And of course, the case history can be discussed. So these things are coming up in future. Yeah, stay tuned. Our organizer from IChrom is going to publish about when these seminars will be, and hopefully we'll meet again. In conclusion, I will say that this technology transfer process could be seamless, as much seamless as possible, and that can be done with your efforts into how you plan it. These 10 key elements which I have provided here is not coming from the book, it's not coming from any theoretical literature, it's not coming from any publication. It's my own. I have gathered those. So there is possibility that this list can be added for few some other critical ones, and this is all up to you guys. Means you all are capable of extending it to more things if you would like, and this knowledge needs to be transferred. This knowledge needs to be captured into key lessons learned, and hopefully when you apply this, you will be able to have success. But this is not the only thing. The second part, as I said, is a technical part, and which deals with the what are the scale up measures. How do you scale up from the gram or kilogram to 100 kilogram? Machineries, how do you manage those things will be also the second part. This is not the only part. So both the things together, if you put together, that will give you a very seamless technology transfer process, and it goes without fail again. This is a collaborative effort. So sender and receiver, they need to be partner for success and partner for crime. So this has to be very, very much together work done so that these technology teams, uh, because they represent the critical part of this manufacturing, robust manufacturing, and on time product launch by having their efforts together and worked out in a manner that is helpful to the company, helpful to the team, and helpful to the product to be successful in the market. Just again, it is a R&D production and all the bottlenecks, which is a technology transfer, which is in between, and that's the area which we are talking about, and that needs to be ironed out in order to be successful. I think I'm done with my presentation. If you have any questions, please, the forum is open to questions, and I will ask my organizer to facilitate this part. Thank you so much. I really appreciate listening to my talk, and I hope you have taken some take-home messages depending on the environment you work on, depending on the culture of the company you work on, and depending on the type of transfers you are doing. I wish you all the best in your future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, guys. Please, if you have any query, you can ask your question through the chat box.
Ma'am, how do you open the check?
Yes, Gunjan, you have any question? Mr. Gunjan Singh, you have any question? You have raised your hand. Mr. Sabir, there's a question is, what is the scope of technology transfer? Can you a little bit explain?
The scope of technology transfer?
Yeah.
What is the question?
Question is coming from the what are the scope of technology transfer
Is,
in industry?
okay, scope of technology transfer depends on two or three things. First, what kind of transfer you are looking? Is it a generic product? It is a NCE, and because they both have a different connotation attached to them. So, what kind of product you are transferring? Second thing is the transfer is being done between the A and B. So, what kind of these companies are A and B? Are they like within the company? Are they CMOs, or are the merger of the two companies? So this scope really varies between the two companies. And third thing I will say is, as I mentioned, there are so many things which needs to be put into the first technology transfer report, which is kind of a development report, or the from the clinical side. If you are transferring, then all the relevant information on the product profile, as well as some kind of a logistics about the company's structure, hierarchy, machinery, all those needs to be explained. If it is totally a different company you are transferring to, the scope of the project, where is the main goal should be, the, all the information which has some impact on the transferring the technology should be put into the report and transferred to the receiving side. Did I answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. The next question is from Mr. Yadav, Jitin Yadav. He is asking, after B Farm, can we go in this field? What do you do if an individual is interested?
After B Farm?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
After B, yeah.
uh, this, it is not the degree dependent something, because I have seen in the companies where if you are a part of the team, technology transfer team, it does not require you to have any degree there, B Farm or M Farm or PhD. Yeah, of course, for a team leader, maybe there will be some criteria, but once you have a position in the company, and if you are selected to be the member of the technology transfer team, you can exercise all what I have explained here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And other question is from Mr. Jitin Yadav. He has not written any question. He has raised the hand. Jitin, if you have any question, you can write down the chat box, please. Yes, Mr. Anil Kumar, we are going to unmute you. You can ask your question directly.
Yeah, good evening to all.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, Mr. Anil.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, is it compulsory to follow the scale-up principle? Actually, if we don't have the geometrical similarity in between R&D level and scale-up level and commercial level.
I think you remember the one company I mentioned where there are about 67 products which were unable to manufacture. That was the problem there. There was no middle group between R&D and manufacturing, and that's why they had this problem. So I will highly recommend to have that group. Maybe it is just 2 people or 3 people, but there has to be a middle group who will be able to play with the formulation before it can be transferred. And that is what I called is a design space, which is again one of the highly recommended activity from the 21st century GMP, if you look at the FDA guideline. So I will recommend highly that it should be done. But if it is not, and there is no capability, there is no resources, small company, then at least the R&D person who is developing the product should be having the enough knowledge about the scale-up process, and especially about the process optimization part, which he can go to the manufacturing site personally and work hand in hand with the manufacturing person in order to exercise this part.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So anyone if want to ask any questions, please. So Anil, you are raising your hand. Any questions? I am unmuting you.
Yes, sir. Actually,
Yeah,
as you
please.
said, DOE, we need to optimize the process by using DOE tools.
Yes.
In ICH Q8, it says that we need to go with the traditional way also, but it is consuming. So finally, we are losing the time and manpower.
Okay. It's a very good question, Anil, and I will tell you, for the generic company, it is sometimes hard to gather the resources for the DOE. So what I will suggest is, and again, I hope you will be able to attend one of my future lecture on the QBD, where I have given some shortcuts to QBD, which is totally acceptable by the FDA, which I know because I worked for Watson for 7 years, which is a big generic company, which was. Now it has been bought by some other company. But anyway, so you do have lots of experience on that similar kind of dosage form from the previous products put by the company. If that is the case, your job is simple. You have to gather all the data from those and try to do the chart, which is called a risk analysis chart, which is a part of quality risk management, QRM, and it applies FMEA. Using the FMEA, you will be able to cut down the risk and to the level which is either mitigated or either to a very minimum threshold, and that kind of justification you can provide in your filing that will not require you to do the full-fledged QBD, and you should be able to cut down your time and as well as resources. And there are three screens I have provided in that particular lecture, which helps you to cut down that kind of activity.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you for your kind information.
Sure. Okay, Nandan. Anu? Hello, Anu? Hello, Nandan?
Hello.
Hello?
Thank you,
Can you
sir.
hear me?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
So I'm
Thank
done,
you.
right? I can, sure, anytime.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. There will be more webinar in the month of June and July. please go through, which is displayed on your screen. These are food chemistry to immunity on 12th May 2020. Recipe for tablet manufacturing, an overview, quality by design in innovative products, resume and impact on interview, career opportunities in pharma, process validation using QBD, general principles and practices, effective tools used for technology transfer, international speakers from USA. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we are closing this session. Thank you, sir, once again.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. Thank you. I appreciate
Okay,
hosting
thank
this
you.
webinar for.
Okay.